I want to talk about rent prices. So before COVID, pre-COVID days, I was able to rent a 3-bedroom townhome for a reasonable price. COVID hits, and then like a year or two later, the management company comes to tell me, hey, the owners want to move back in. And I was like, what the fuck, man, what the fuck? Because the rent prices skyrocket. Apartments were like $3,000 for a 3-bedroom apartment here in Orlando. I don't know where it is anywhere else, but Florida is insane. So I was like, what am I going to do? So I reach out to my sister, and I end up moving in with my sister and her family. I'm still there 4 years later. Why? Because rent prices are still insane. You're telling me for a 3-bedroom apartment now, it's like $2,200. For a townhome that I rented before is like $2,500, $2,600. If that, it might be even more. I haven't checked the prices lately. But when are the rent prices going to go down? Seriously, in our economy, it's just fucking insane. I'm a teacher. I don't make that much. I shouldn't have to get 2-3 jobs just to survive in this economy. And let me not even get started on the groceries. That's going to be a whole nother video. What is going on in our world today?
These rent prices then went insane. Subscribe for more, but we got more clips. Let's get right back into it.
So I just got home and this note was taped to my door, and I'm kind of scared to open it because it says rent notice, which probably means my rent is about to increase. And not to sound dramatic, but the inside of this note is about to determine the fate of my future, because if they keep my rent the same, I would highly consider staying in West Palm Beach for another year. But if they raise it by over $100, I'm 100% moving to either Miami or New York. My current rent is $4,200 a month, so if they raise it to more than $4,300 a month, I'm 100% out of here. But let's see. Congratulations on your upcoming anniversary with us, and thank you for being a valued resident in our community. As a valued resident, we'd like to show our appreciation by offering you an early renewal discount. If I'm so valued, why the fuck would you raise my rent? My current rent's $4,190. If I renew with the early special, they are raising it to $4,602. And if I don't sign within the month, they're raising it to $4,732 a month. Bro, that is fucking crazy. I was thinking maybe $200 to $300. That would typically be in line with inflation, right? 3 to 4%. $4,600 from $42 is a 10% increase. Okay, since my landlord wants to play games, we're gonna play a little game called Move Out. The apartment hunt is back on in full swing, and I know I showed you guys Fort Lauderdale a little bit the last couple weeks, but I don't think that's on the table anymore. I'm really thinking about Miami or New York, so I'm gonna go to both destinations, set up a couple tours, and bring you guys along with me, and we're gonna find a new place, baby.
I'm running the risk of sounding dumb, but how are people affording to live in New York City and renting, for that matter? And I'm saying this as somebody that lives in New York City and rents, but I feel like I got very lucky with my apartment. I pay $1,700 a month for my apartment. It's a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom with a washer and dryer in my unit, and I feel like I got very lucky with that. And my lease is up this year, so I'm anticipating my rent's going to go up probably another $100. I hope it doesn't go up more than $100. And I typically do a 2-year lease. But then I start to wonder, like, oh, is $100 increase a lot? I don't know. I've never really rented. Like, I haven't really moved around a lot. Well, whatever, I have, but like, whatever. So I went online and looked at apartments for rent. I don't, let's say, like, I had to leave my apartment, right? Like, let's say, like, the building was being sold or I was getting kicked out or whatever. I don't know what I would do. I don't think I'd be able to live alone. And I love living alone. $2,400 for a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom with, like, a washing machine in the basement and there's, like, no parking. I don't know what I truly, and that's like starting, right? And then you're running the risk of like, okay, well, like, does the apartment have bugs? Like, how is the parking situation? I am honestly spooked because I'm like, oh, my landlord could raise my rent like $300. And I don't think I'd really have a choice. And that makes me feel very, like, not stable. and it makes me feel very uncertain. So this is like, I'm like freaked out at how expensive it is to rent in New York City.
Yeah, because one thing I just can't see myself doing no more is paying $2,000 a month for a 1-bedroom. Like, I don't know why I did. It's like, I was paying, that is what my current rent is now. And let me tell you, my apartment, they sent me my renewal letter. They did not go up on my rent, not even $1, because they know it's better to keep me and they getting $2,000 a month versus me leaving and then they have to, you know, spend time filling that unit. So no money is better than, or some money is better than no money, but I'm just not going to do it no more. Ever since I got out of debt and, you know, I paid my car off and everything, I'm just like, where can I cut expenses at some more? And it's definitely on my rent. And you, like I said, I done toured some apartments that was like, you know, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 and paying $2,000 a month for a 1-bedroom. That just sounds crazy to me now. So I'm no longer going to do that. Apartment is apartment. As long as you got a roof over your head, no matter where you stay at, I don't need all that luxury stuff. I don't be using them amenities, no way. So
$2,000 for 1-bedroom is crazy, but look at this next one.
It is crazy when you move to New York because brokers will literally tell you, oh, these apartments are getting snatched up in seconds and have you sign the lease immediately. Meanwhile, these are 2 bedrooms in my apartment that have been open for over 2 months. Nobody's came to tour the place, absolutely nothing. Somebody's telling you there's no apartments in New York City, don't panic because they're lying.
How are people holding up in this economy? Because the economy right now is bizarre. It's trash right now. Garbage. I don't know if it's the dope. I don't know what it is. How there's not an uproar about this. Everyone's just taking it easy. And if they do have jobs, the jobs don't pay. How are you guys surviving on $7 an hour, $12 an hour, $11, and especially in the South? Let's not even talk about the cities. How are people getting by? The credit card rates must be through the roof. This is why I'm a huge supporter for Medicare for all, child care for all, raising the minimum wage. Forget raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. It needs to be at least $25 an hour, except for small businesses. But those major corporations, you could pay at least $25 an hour. You can't say, oh, it's going to cause the economy to crash. But at the same time, prices and everything is going up. Wages remain stagnant. The federal minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour. Like, I just don't understand why people don't cause an uproar about this or is upset or angry. I'm going to be honest. Everyone cannot be celebrities. Everyone can't be entrepreneurs. You need consumers, right? Is it gatekeeping? People don't want people in certain industries. They're keeping certain people out. Because I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking, I had to take a little break. And I'm just here thinking, like, what is really going on? People are suffering. People are working 2-3 jobs because they're minimum wage jobs. Life happens, people. I'm not judging no one out here in these streets. Life happens. Life happens. You could be up today and down tomorrow. I ain't judging no one, especially people who are trying to better their lives each and every day. Here, create more affordable housing. Create government supermarkets to compete with the private supermarkets. It's all about competition, right? Make universities more affordable. If you don't want to give tuition free or college free, make universities more affordable. There's no way public universities should be charging 6 figures for an education.
Georgia needs to impose some sort of rent control legislation because the rent with these owners is getting out of hand. They're increasing the rent drastically, like $200 to $300 every year. One year it got so bad we had to negotiate So to the point where the owner had to come down. Now, this last lease, he didn't even budge. So we're deciding to move because we already know he's going to go up another $200 or $300. And this place just isn't even worth that. And we know quite a few people who are going through this where the rent is just increasing drastically. That's why we are on the trajectory to, buy us a home, because thousands and thousands spent on someone else's mortgage is just, it's out of hand. It's convenient, for sure. But I'd rather own my own home at this point because it just makes no sense. Like, they really need to impose rent control here in Georgia. It's insane.
So I'm in the middle of selling my house right now and looking for apartments in and around the DMV area. And I'm not gonna lie, I was not prepared for the sticker shock of how much these apartments are going for these days, man. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, for context, we bought that house in 2021. We've been there for 5 going on 6 years now. And as a result of that, I was insulated from the inflation everybody else has been going through because my cost of living has been fairly static last 5 years. Now, I'm seeing apartments, shoeboxes in the DMV area, not even DC. I'm just talking about in the surrounding areas and even in Baltimore. They want almost $2,200 for a shoebox, not even 700 square feet. Now, thankfully, I can afford it. I'm not going to like it, but I can make it work if need be. But I just found myself thinking like, damn, if this is what everybody else is going through, it's no wonder everybody's struggling right now. Like, we are literally being squeezed on both ends. All these landlords and apartment communities are weaponizing the fact that the barrier for entry into home ownership is so high and impossible right now for most people, and are squeezing people for every dollar they got in their pocket right now. And it's crazy because it was not always this way. I'm not even talking about back in the 2000s. I'm talking about as recently as like 2020. Before we bought this house, we was living in an apartment in Largo. We paid $1,500 for a luxury, 800 square foot apartment. That same apartment right now goes for $2,100, if not $2,200, right? And that's before parking, that's before utilities and everything else. Like, this shit is insane, bro. And it's like, how the fuck are young people supposed to get ahead? Young people just starting their careers. Young people trying to get out their mama house. Young people's trying to start a family. How the fuck are they supposed to get ahead? If they're not even being given a chance to grow financially or to save, like, how the fuck is that possible?
$1,500 for an 800 square foot? Nah, that's robbery. Look at this next clip.
I called my mom today and told her I'm moving back in. And I'm 40 years old. And I have 2 children. When I say that it's hard, you got rent, you got your car note, you got car insurance, you got your light bill, you got your water bill, you have your cell phone bill. Last month I spent over $1,500 in grocery. I don't know how you guys are making it, but I'm ready to move back in with my mom and help her pay her rent. Yeah.
New Yorkers that rent are so fed up with the rental market, and I don't blame them as a real estate agent in New York City. Let's go over what's happening, why it's happening, and what to do. To put it into perspective, in 2024, a 1-bedroom was averaged at $4,000. Today in 2026, a studio is averaged at $4,000. Prices have doubled in the last 2 years. 1.49 is the vacancy rate in these buildings, meaning these buildings are filled to the top. So not only are prices insane, the inventory is as short as it can be, your choices are limited, and you have hundreds of thousands of people fighting for the same apartment in the most competitive city in the entire country. Only will you be searching in the 1%, you'll also have to fight for it. You need help? I got you.
Ignore my face, I got a face mask on. But anyway, when I first moved to Atlanta, I moved to Sandy Springs. I had a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in this community. Mind you, it wasn't one of the renovated ones, so why somebody always got a call? Anyway, so for my apartment, I was paying $840 a month. 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in Sandy Springs. Right. And the renovated version of my apartment, they were paying like $930 a month for the same layout, same 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. So $840, $930 for the renovated ones. Something just told me, and this was back in 2016. Something told me to just go back and look and see how much they were now. Same apartment complex. I looked at the same layout that I had. Those apartments are $2,600. $2,600. Now, I'm saying 10 years ago, I was paying $845 something. And now, of course, they've renovated them a little bit, but they put some lipstick on a pig and slapped luxury on there. Well, they always said luxury. But anyway, $2,600? I understand that it will go up a little bit, but that's more than 200%. What? How is this legal? Like, even if you renovate, it's not like y'all knocked down the entire buildings and rebuilt the shit back up. Does everyone get a lump of gold when they sign the contract? That's insane. That's insanity.
And it's like, you ain't got no choice unless you got family. This lady, this next club is close to my city. Let's see what she got to say.
So I just got my lease renewal letter back, and I found out what my rent would be if I stayed at the current unit that I'm in. For context, what I pay right now, base rent, is $1,440, which is pretty good for a studio apartment. Very central to Dallas. I'm not going to say the exact location. I have around 690 square feet. It is a studio though. They raised it now to $1,700 a month base rent. With added fees, right now my lease is around like $1,500. They've changed those fees since then, and it would be over $1,800 now for the studio that I'm in per month. This is insane, guys. Like, mind you, this is for someone who would renew their lease. For people just coming into this apartment complex now, it would be a lot more. And I have so much to say about this specific complex. I'm not gonna de-influence until I move out and my lease is up, but I will be posting a video about it because I wouldn't want other people to have the same problem. But yeah, Dallas is ridiculous.
New Yorkers, here's why your rent feels so expensive right now. New York has a housing shortage so severe that the vacancy rate has fallen to around 1.5%. That means thousands of people are competing over a limited amount of apartments, which means that landlords are willing to charge more. And this didn't happen overnight. Years of zoning restrictions, complicated development rules, and policies that made building housing harder have limited how quickly New York can add apartments. And while Republicans in Washington keep talking about cutting regulations, New York still has to confront its housing supply problem. If everyone wants lower rents, New York needs to add more housing. Not another argument about politics.
I would have to disagree that $2,100 a month is damn cheap. And a lot of people have commented this, but it's just not true. So I'm going to explain why. The national average salary in the United States right now is $59,000, and $59,000 after taxes, your take home every month is about $3,800. So if you are a household or a single person living off of that one salary, that rent right there is more than half of what you're making. And that's just the average. So of course there's going to be people that are well below the average who cannot even afford a $2,100 rent that you guys are saying is cheap. Now, I'm not ungrateful at all. I'm blessed that we are able to afford this $2,100 of rent, which we got at this rate because we moved during COVID, during the height in 2020. We moved there in 2020 during the height of COVID, and they were having a really good deal because they were desperate to get people in. Now, unfortunately, that rent is about $3,000. But why are we normalizing? Why are we normalizing $2,100 a month of rent as being cheap when the majority of people in the United States don't even make enough to afford this type of rent? So many people have roommates. So many people who are families and have multiple children are living in an apartment instead of living in a house, which is what we are saving for. We're never going to own this apartment. We're all just throwing our money away, renting instead of buying. We have no buying power right now as millennials and as Gen Zers. Why aren't we able to afford to buy things like the generations before us did? How come we're the ones that are screwed? I was born and raised in California. It's not going to be possible for me to buy a home here because the average price of houses here, and these are old houses, like 1950s houses, is about $700,000. I thought I made decent money. Last year was the most I ever made, right? I thought that we would be able to afford a house. We're not going to be able to afford a house that's almost $1 million. It's just not going to happen. So I understand people saying $2,100 is cheap. It's not cheap. It's cheaper than other places, but we are all of us are being overcharged for rent. And these houses are insanely expensive. And there's like no chance of most people ever even being able to afford to buy a house in their lifetime. That's sad.
That title in the caption said 2,100 is damn cheap. That ain't cheap at all, sir. But hey, it's Josh from Talk to Him, boy. I just talked to you, boy. I'm gonna see you on the next video. I'm out. Peace.